Judge, what do you think the jury's looking for here? It seems like the
Well,
facts aren't going
again,
to be in contest here.
right. No, I agree with you. I think the jury's really going to be saddled with a very hard job, and I believe in our jury system, as you well know, Brian, but the very hard job of deciding at the time that he killed his children, all five of his children, when he did that, was he legally insane? And they said that in their opening, meaning, did he know legal or moral right from wrong? And I would agree completely that, listen, it's okay and true to talk about all these issues and how it damages the foundation of the brain. Very, very true. But that doesn't necessarily prove he was insane at the time he committed these acts or crimes. So it's an uphill battle.
Well, is there a strict legal requirement to prove this, or just really the call for the jury to make?
It's really a jury decision, but they do have to find that at the time, again, the legal or moral right from wrong, he knew or didn't know at the time, and that's a jury decision.
And Judge Willcott, what do you make of this? I'm not buying it right now, but I've only heard about 6 or 7 minutes.
No, I'm the same way. So he's trying to make the argument you can't see the forest for the trees. Don't be deceived by the trees that the prosecution's going to try to put out there. I think that analogy is a little convoluted. The other thing I've got to point out is, listen, he's trying to say he didn't know right from wrong. In fact, after he admittedly killed these children, he thought, I'm going to take them around the country and travel with them and spend time with them. I think that's the crux of the argument, right? He obviously didn't know he'd done anything wrong, or else he would not have taken them all over the country to spend time with them. I don't buy it, but I think that's the argument.
And to recount the case, he strangled 4 of them and beat a 5th to death. And of course, Judge, this is yet another indictment of the local child welfare authorities being called there again and again. You see this all the time.
It does, Brian, and I'm all about prevention, right? And so the reality is every time they were called, it was a red flag. And theoretically, this could have been prevented.
And do you think if he was truly insane that some social worker would have spotted that or reported that?
Well, I think there's a good argument, right, that there were problems. I don't believe the insanity defense in this case, so it's hard for me to opine about that. But I think there must have been other signs. If he was truly insane, didn't understand right from wrong, they would have seen something to indicate that. And
Judge Willcott, you deal with children's cases all the time. How hard for the jury to listen to the details of this?
It is exceedingly hard. And, it's traumatic for them to have to hear the details. And especially when it's such a horrific manner of death, the fact that he strangled 4 of them, beat 1 to death, 5 children, probably witnessed some of them, their other siblings' death. It's really going to be a challenge for the jury. It is going to be emotional from the jury. And juries are sophisticated, but Brian, they are going to have to separate the anger at hearing what's happened to these children from their requirement as a juror to determine whether or not he was insane at the time it happened.
Well, that's what they're charged with, but can they, as a practical matter?
I believe in our jury system, and I've seen juries absolutely handle their job and do it the way that they're instructed to do it. So yes, I believe that they can as a practical matter, but it doesn't mean it's easy to hear all the gruesome details about how he killed his own children.
And it seems, Judge Willcott, that the theory is that he beat one son to death in a rage and then had to essentially kill the witnesses.
Absolutely. That's the theory. And I think it's important that he does give the details because there are 2 things. Number one, a jury wants to know exactly what he did to kill the children in this case, but what a defendant has done to kill someone. And number 2, they absolutely want to know or understand or hear theories about why. And so while that's not dispositive of, okay, reasonable doubt or not, it absolutely is important from a jury's perspective to hear as much evidence as there is in that regard.
So does a fit of rage count as insanity?
I don't think so, Brian, no, because a fit of rage is not the same as understanding that it was legally or morally wrong or right. So I do not agree. I do not believe a fit of rage means that a person cannot understand right from wrong. 2 different things.
Judge Willcott, you have the sense that he's trying to spin it for the defendant or laying it out as he sees it?
Oh, I think he's trying to spin it for the defendant. I agree with Gene. I think he sounds very credible, believable, good expert. However, note everything that that mother of the child testified to in tears, that she was so frightened and afraid and scared. He's now saying, oh, you need to understand it simply because he loved his child so much and was stressed out about the custody. So I think he's trying to excuse or explain some of the defendant's behavior away.
Where do you see there's a mention there of bipolar disease. Is that the key then to this defense argument?
Well, I'm going to stand by. I just have to say mental health illness, again, does not equate to insanity. It might contribute, but you still have to prove insane at the time the incident occurred. And whether someone's bipolar or not does not necessarily mean that to be the case.
Judge Ashley Willcott, Gene Rossi, does the prosecution still have to present evidence of what actually happened, even though the defense is insanity and they accept what happened? Gene?
I believe they do. Brian, they have to be able to say, this is what happened, here are all the details. And then it's up to the defense to prove it was insanity or not. And all I have to say is listening to that testimony and imagining somebody going the wrong way on an interstate, to me, denotes purposeful. And so it would be very hard for me to buy that it wasn't on purpose.
Judge Willcott, an insanity defense in this case?
I do not believe it's an insanity defense. In fact, I think he was trying to flee when he got in the police cruiser. And then I think he freaked out and maybe he thought, okay, I'll kill myself. It can't get any worse than it is. And then he drove into the cars. I do not believe that the defense is proven an insanity defense in this case.
Judge Willcott, is depraved or wicked spirit part of the law?
Well, yeah, depraved. And I think absolutely I agree with Gene, and that is he brought in those elements and depravity and the things that the jury's going to need to look at. And he did it in such a simple, easy way to understand. He just spoon-fed them. Here's what I'm going to prove and how, and this is what you need to find.
Prosecutor Sean Graham, Ashley Willcott, let me ask you, by being understated and not emotional, he actually adds to the emotion of the moment.
Oh, I completely agree with you, Brian. Great description. And here's what I love. He did not shy away from the defense's arguments in this case. He included everything that they are going to bring up most likely, which is drug use, which is all of the different components that he's arguing means he was insane, and his hard life and the trauma he's endured and his traumatic brain injury from when he was younger. And he addressed them head on in his opening. I think it was brilliant.
You're asking the jurors to be very forgiving, don't you think, Ashley Willcott?
Yes.
I disagree with Gene a little bit. Yes, it might be insanity, but remember, the whole point is, did he know right from wrong at the time he did it? So you have to look at all those facts and factors at the time he actually killed, violently, I might add, all 5 of his children. The other thing, I found the analogy of the trees and the forest and the way it was presented a little convoluted to follow, but that might just be me. I'm not a sophisticated juror listening.
And Judge Ashley, what do you say about that?
I completely agree, and I just have to say this to end. If, in fact, this defendant did not know right from wrong, then the state failed these children, because there were repeated contacts between the children and the State Protection Agency of Children. And if he truly does not know right from wrong, these children were not protected.